War guns are one of the most important pieces in the Call of Duty Zombies jigsaw. Spawn in, want a new gun off the rip, buy a war gun. Training somewhere and need a backup weapon, buy the war gun in the area. Looking to grind out points without worrying about ammo, buy a war gun. They are the backbone of zombies. Of course, in recent years, with being able to spawn in with whatever weapon you want, war guns have fallen under a shadow. But today, I'm going to shine some light on them as they're all I'll be using on every Treyarch Zombies game. We're starting in Darius, World at War, and this game has some bangers on the wall. We've got the STG, the MP40, Thompson, double barrel shotgun. This map even has the FG42. Like, come on, what is not to love? Straight off spawn, I picked myself up the Kar 98K for 200 points, and at that price, you can't go wrong with it, especially as it's a one shot for the first 3 rounds, which means points just earn themselves. After a few rounds of awful aim, I picked up the Gewehr, which had a very shortly lived life in my inventory, as only a round or so later, the dogs were here, and I knew for a fact if I used my current weaponry against them, this run would be over much sooner than I'd like. So I went and bought the daddy of all shotguns, the double barrel, and for once, I didn't fear the dogs, as the double barrel cleaned house with ease. To pair the double barrel, I needed a pea shooter, a little blaster if you may, and what better weapon to fill that role than the Tommy gun. Also because this gun just slaps in this game. Like genuinely probably a top 5 World at War gun in zombies. With my weaponry acquired, I turned my attention to perks. Usually Pack-a-Punch would be the next thing on my list, but the perks just tickled my pickles. That's where I went. Speed was up first, I'm not gonna lie, mainly because you reload like an OAP in this game, so I needed a bit more pep in my step. Jug was bought shortly afterwards, however. We went a few more rounds and the Thompson was doing the business. Zombies didn't stand much of a chance against this thing, and I was grooving, and to ensure I continued feeling groovy at the end of round 10, I went and bought double tap, and considering this was war guns, even though it's not actually a gun, I also bought the bouncing Bettys, because why not? My guns were shredding zombies, which was carrying me through the rounds, and it wasn't until the end of round 11 when I opted to get Pack-a-Punch open. Of course, as I get the first teleporter linked, my zombie decides to Kurt Cobain himself, but luckily for me, the next round was dogs, although for some reason, instead of fully getting Pack-a-Punch open, I just got one more teleporter linked, so yeah. With that, I went another round, and this is where things started getting a little spicy. The Thompson was still putting down zombies, don't get me wrong, but it was definitely squeaky bum time, so at the end of round 13, I finished linking the teleporters, and old Jebediah Brown's invention was finally available. With Pack-a-Punch guns, I felt pretty unstoppable, as both the Tommy gun and the double barrel smack with their respective upgrades. As my guns were juiced, and this is Darius, I did the only thing anyone should do in this map and camp the catwalk. Now you may remember, I bought bouncing Bettys earlier. I decided to have a fallback plan in case I got overrun, so I started planting the Bettys in the corner behind me. And after a few rounds, I had quite the collection. We were well into the 20s, and both of my guns in terms of damage were still bossing it, but the double barrel was starting to struggle with its 2-round chamber. The smart play here would be to buy the STG as it's right next to the catwalk, but that would be boring. So I bought the FG42, which I very quickly remembered is ass, but it has a lot of ammo, so, you know, kind of equals itself out, I guess. However, the FG42 wouldn't really be given a chance to prove itself. You see, at the beginning of round 26, I was counting my splody boys just to see how many I had, you know, but I didn't realize the round had started spawning, and well, things went south very, very quickly, and I died. So, not the most ideal way for a run to end, but at least we got Black Ops 1 next. Black Ops 1 war guns are not great. Sure, there are a few gems like the M14, the M16, MP40, the AK, but that's about it. Like PM63 or MPL, no. You could say I was less than confident going into this, hence why I chose Ascension for this run. When you spawn in the same room as the M14 and you're doing a war gun only challenge, you can't not buy it. I mean, it's literally the greatest spawn room gun of all time. And it was also the only war gun I bought all game. Now this could mean one of two things. Either I had the greatest run ever with only the M14 and just didn't need to buy any other guns, or I died really early. And I wonder which one it is. Well, if you said greatest run ever, then you've only gone and guessed wrong. Yeah, I died in like round 7. Now, war gun only, I thought to myself, anything that's on the wall goes. That includes melee weapons, right? So my plan was to get the sickle and farm points for the opening few rounds. I bought the sickle, but then proceeded to get abused by the game, which led to me downing twice within about 30 seconds. I never liked Black Ops 1 anyway. Black Ops 2, on the other hand, is a game I very much love. Going into this, I was very tempted to go transit, and yes, I am being serious, as that way I could just grab the M16 and train in the tunnel for 3 hours. But you, of course, can't do a wallgun challenge without going to Buried. This map has some all-timers on the wall. The AN-94, the M16's back, the PDW, the freaking LSAT is on the wall. One of the best guns in the game. The LSAT is in a pretty sneaky spot in spawn, but it is relatively easy to get to. All I needed was 3,000 points. The first few rounds, points were all that mattered to me, and by the end of round 2, I had the cheddar. I go to make the jump and miss completely. Yeah, just didn't even make it far enough to grab the edge. Straight up screwed the pooch on that one. I could have restarted and gone again, but, you know, where's the fun in that? As I still had access to the AN-94 and what was going to be my secret source, but I kind of screwed that plan up, and, you know, the secret source is the SVU. I wanted a trifecta of weapons, and at the end of round 3, I had the first of that trio being the AN-94. The early rounds consisted of me getting everything opened up, taking it down, getting everything opened up, and buying all of my perks. Round 8, we make it through the mansion. We get stamina up, which I was happy with, and shortly later I had pack-a-punched AN-94 as well as a pack-a-punched SVU. I've become quite the fan of hanging about near the pack-a-punch on this map, and this run went the exact same way. Also because I wanted another free perk when I ran back through the mansion. We've already attempted around 50 with both the AN-94 and the SVU, so I knew just how good these guns were, and I wasn't worried about them in the slightest. With that, the AN-94 blitzed these early rounds as if these zombies were nothing, as it just casually one-tapped them for fun. And before long, I was headed back into the main part of the map, where I picked up Vulture Aid as one of my free perks. This meant Mule Kick was the last to be obtained, which we grabbed shortly later. The LSAT was still attainable, but it would require a little bit of finesse and cheating, if I'm being honest, as I needed the Paralyzer. We got the Paralyzer from the box, and I got a pack-punched. I don't know if I necessarily needed to do that, but I had the cheddar, so why not? With everything in place, I made my way back to spawn, and it is now that I realized I am awful at using the Paralyzer as a mode of movement. Just straight up the worst at it. I tried for no less than 20 to 30 minutes to get this gun, constantly running all through the map, teleporting to spawn, trying to fly up the platform so I could make the jump, and just constantly failing and having to restart over and over again. And out of everything, this is the thing that was destroying my mental. I was so close to losing it, and after those 20 to 30 minutes, I gave up. I straight up just quit. I swapped out the Paralyzer for the M16, and the LSAT could get stuffed. I was very frustrated at this point, and honestly, I was just playing without a care in the world, but it was surprisingly working, as it got me through the rounds. It didn't just get me through the rounds, it got me into the 30s, and this is when I got a bit more, you know, pepped up myself. I got back into things, and of course, right as I did, I took my second down of the game on round 32. Just perfect. This would turn out to be a pretty significant down, as upon reviving, everything just went to shit. I managed to get quick revive back via the mansion, but it was mid-round, so I was kind of screwed, which led to me running down into the pack-a-punch, and it did not end well. Whilst I was down there, things got dialed to 11, and it wasn't long before I took another down. In panic, I tried to escape and got a nuke to help with that, but of course the Black Ops 2 nuke sucks ass, and it didn't exactly do a good job at killing the zombies. I make a break for it, and it only ends with me going down one last time. Black Ops 2 comes to an end around 33, which isn't that bad. Black Ops 3 is up next, and I had very little confidence in this, as the guns in this game suck. They are all garbage. I hate them all. I of course picked Zetspo because why not? Immediately off spawn, I picked up the RK5, which got me through the first few rounds. Round 5, I'm at one of the temporary generators where there is an M8A7 available, so I got it bought. I won't lie, I hardly ever use this gun, so I had no idea if it would be good or bad. I was just kind of winging it. The same round, I got the main facility doors opened, and I was making some pretty decent progress. Round 7, I picked up a new gun that I knew was good, being the Vesper. Later that same round, I got the water thing cleared and the main power turned on. And to make things even better, I also swapped out the M8 for the HVK. But then out of nowhere, disaster struck. I get windmilled from behind, which sends my brain into panic mode, and then another zombie comes along and finishes the job. Now I may or may not have forgotten to buy quick revive, which may or may not have been a little bit of self-sabotage, but you can't prove anything. And with that, we move move into Black Ops 4. I don't know why, but of late I've had a weird obsession with classified, so that's where we're headed. This game, unlike some of its predecessors, actually has some bangers on the wall. I'm talking the ICR, the Auger, Trebuchet, Strife, the Titan, the list honestly goes on. I was very excited and confident with this run. As you can probably tell from my perks, one of the guns I wanted was the Trebuchet. So the first few rounds I grinded out a bunch of cheddar, and on round 4 I headed down to floor 2 where I didn't just buy the Trebuchet, I also got the ICR too. With those guns I was honestly set for the next 20 rounds, and from here on I set about getting my perks, power and the shield. It didn't actually take me that long to get those things rolling. Power was on soon after buying my guns, with the shield being built shortly after that. Perks were bought along the way, and pretty quickly I was in great position. Apart from one thing, being Pack-a-Punch. I've only ever really played this map a handful of times, with most of them being recent, but every time I've played the map I haven't actually needed to open the Pack-a-Punch due to specific challenge criteria, which made me realize I don't know how to open the Pack-a-Punch. Now, I wanted to figure it out for myself, but I'm awful at doing that very thing, and I made it to round 15, still without opening Pack-a-Punch. At this point, I caved and just looked up a guide. With Pack-a-Punch finally open, I could unleash the true power of the Trebuchet, with its grenade-firing ability. Honestly, this gun alone could probably carry me to an easy round 40. The ICR was also fully upgraded, and I now had two very good guns that paved the way for many, many rounds. The shotgun blitzed the remaining teen rounds and also made the 20s laughably easy. The ICR could say the same thing about the team rounds, but come mid-20s it was starting to slow down, and as I reached round 30 it wasn't doing great at all. So I swapped it out for a personal favourite of mine, being the Auger. The Auger was a 2-shot at this point, and I honestly think it remains that way even after health cap on round 35. The only issue with the Auger was the wall-buy being in the lab, and there was no chance in hell I was going to be taking routine trips down there for ammo. Trebuchet was a 2-shot come round 29, and a 3-shot once we crossed round 35, which isn't bad, but as it was my main damage dealer, it did throw up a few red flags. The rounds at this point were starting to get much tougher, which was pretty evident as I took it down early into round 36. Panic stations were definitely active for this one, but I managed to get myself back on track. Zombie health is capped from this point on, but the sheer amount of zombies plus the fact I wasn't exactly training in the smartest area definitely made this a little bit harder. We slowly churn out each round one by one until I eventually hit the big 4-0. 10 rounds from glory and we were grooving. That was until round 41 when I take another down. This time I am screwed. Zombies everywhere, just imminent death surrounding me. But somehow, I wriggle my way out of danger. I rebuy PhD, and then back in the fight for about 15 seconds. Until I get swarmed in the office area and take the L. If I'd done this on tag, easy around 50, but that map is a snoozer, so no. But I'll take around 41. And here we are, the finale and one last chance at around 50. And there really isn't an easier place for it, and not for the reasons you think. You see, I chose what I think to be the hardest map in the game, to at least give the zombies a chance. But when you put literally the two strongest guns in the game on the wall, being the Hauer and the M16, things get pretty easy. To try and make things even more fair for the zombies, I also opted to not use my own custom blueprint, and if I wanted the change of attachment, I'd have to use the armor station. It was still a breeze. Like, the M16 and the Hauer are just unmatched, unrivaled, and completely unfair, and I love it. For the best part of 30 rounds, the zombies, disciples, manglers, the Panzer, just all of them didn't stand a chance. The guns blitzed the lot with ease. Even as I made my way through the 30s, which is where I thought I might start to struggle, I didn't. Another decade of rounds went by with very little challenge, and I was cruising my way towards the easiest round 50 of my life. Although I did take an off script down around 41, which we're just gonna ignore. It was also now that I binned off regular versions of these guns and loaded up my own blueprints. I kind of just thought, F it. I've done enough today. I deserve this. And it was a great decision, as it just made these final 10 rounds even easier. To be honest, I didn't actually think they'd change much, but yeah, they just did. The M16 and the Hauer, they were just transformed into absolute monsters for the final few rounds. Even the KSP, which I picked up a few rounds prior, was now doing the business. A little over an hour after I started this run, I was ending it on round 50. There's probably never going to be an easier version of this challenge, especially when this game, like I said earlier, just hands you the two best guns in the game. Thank you very much for watching. Drop a like and let me know what other zombie content you want to see from me, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.